That's it, yeah, it's down there. It's down there.
In the back of a local taxi, this is Southport killer Axel Rudakubana, just moments before he shattered the innocence of a children's dance class in the most horrific way imaginable.
We catch the curve, mate.
There would be no payment for the driver from this violence-obsessed teenager as he suddenly jumps out of the taxi, making his way towards the entrance of the Heart Space venue. It's so incredibly heartbreaking to watch these images as in the background music can clearly be heard from the Taylor Swift themed dance class inside, as the youngsters here had no idea of the evil about to enter their world. 3 of those innocents were murdered. 8 others and 2 adults injured in a sustained stabbing attack that left even the most experienced first responders completely traumatised.
Yeah, the events that took place on the 29th of July last year were just truly horrific. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. You know, whilst we've heard the sentencing this week of Axel Rudakubana, which is positive, you know, my thoughts remain with the families of Elsie, Bibi and Alice, the other girls and adults that were injured and those that have been traumatised by what they saw on that day. Just truly horrific.
This is the same model as the chef's knife Rudakubana bought on Amazon and used in the attack. Although he refused to speak to investigators, he was overheard on an audio recording muttering to himself in police custody, saying he was glad the young girls were dead and satisfied he'd achieved what he set out to do. Multiple failings by state agencies have only served to compound the grief and the anger of the bereaved families and the wider community. Aged just 13, this twisted and violent young man began taking knives to school. He admitted to doing this on 10 separate occasions. He openly bragged of his desire to carry out a school massacre. But despite 3 separate referrals to the Prevent Counter-Extremism programme, no action was taken.
Axel Rudakubana first became known to Children's Social Care in 2019, following referrals from the police into the multi-agency Safeguarding Hub. A strategy discussion, which is a multi-agency meeting involving key professionals, in this case social work, early help, police, health and education, met to plan actions and share information following the attack that took place in the school.
This is Rudakubana near his Lancashire home a week before the Southport attack, calling a taxi with the likely intention of carrying out an attack at his former high school. His father intervened and begged the taxi driver not to drive him there. It's not known exactly what his family knew about his attack plans and whether any of them could face prosecution. But at the family home, police discovered paraphernalia used by the teenager to make the deadly biological toxin ricin, a quantity of which was found in this Tupperware box. A PDF document with information linked to an Al-Qaeda training manual was also found within days of the attack. Yet it took 3 months before authorities finally revealed to the public he would also face a terror charge and biological weapons charge. Those charges came months after the widespread disorder, fueled by anger and suspicion that the public were not being told key facts about the suspect. The Prime Minister and others have admitted facts were withheld. Police said they wanted to reveal more information to help counter public misinformation, but were prevented from doing so by the Crown Prosecution Service. The CPS said to do otherwise could have led to the collapse of the case.
We felt that the risk of putting any detailed information, more than we put out already, could prejudice that fair trial. And given that our priority was to make sure that justice was done, that's where we made the decisions that we did.
Axel Rudakubana is now firmly behind bars, having shown absolutely no remorse. bereaved families will never fully recover. And public trust in the authorities to tell them the truth in future has been badly dented. Mark White, GB News, Merseyside.
I'm now going to sentence Axel Rudakubana, having explained my reasons. On counts 1 to 3 murder, I sentence him to custody for life with a minimum term which he must serve in custody of 52 years, less the time he's served already. He's been in custody for 175 days on remand, which will be credited. Therefore, the minimum term is 51 years and 190 days. On counts 4 to 11, I sentence him concurrently to custody for life with a minimum term of 18 years, less 175 days served, on each count concurrently with each other. Allowing for his time served on remand, the minimum term on those counts is 17 years and 190 days. On counts 12 and 13, I sentence him concurrently to custody for life with a minimum term of 16 years, less his time served on remand, on each count concurrently with each other, leading to a minimum term on those counts of 15 years and 190 days. On counts 14 and 16, I sentence him to 18 months custody concurrently with each other and all other offences. He will pay the appropriate amount under he will pay the appropriate amount under 18 statutory charge, which will be entered on the court record. Accordingly, in total, I sentence Rudakubana to 13 sentences of custody for life and a minimum term to be served in custody of 51 days and 190 days. It is highly likely that he will never be released.
Wow. Well, that was quite the sentence. Astonishing. The total sentence there, handed down by Mr. Justice Goose at Liverpool Crown Court to Axel Rudakubana, was 51 years and 190 days on counts 1 to 3. That's the murder of the 3 children. Was life with a minimum of 52 years minus time served, 175 days, 51 years and 190 days. And the lesser sentences will be kind of superfluous because the one there, the chief case, 51 years, 190 days. Let's go straight back now to our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, who's been valiantly outside Liverpool Crown Court all day. Mark White, justice has been served, and the justice, has to be said, has been served firm.
Yes, a very significant sentence, bearing in mind that the judge did not have the option of effectively jailing this man for the rest of his life. Now, at 52 years, the minimum tariff, of course, then also subject of that deduction of 190 days for the time already served, down to 51 years effectively. He could still be eligible for parole at the age of 69, but what the judge said is, in reality, he believes that Axel Rudakubana will die in prison, that he will never be released, because just because you're eligible for parole doesn't necessarily mean that the parole board will grant that particular release, that parole, back into the community. But very disturbing and harrowing evidence from the judge in his sentencing remarks, as he detailed the terrible injuries suffered in particular by the 3 young girls murdered by Axel Rudakubana, and also, of course, that startling insight into the ricin, the deadly toxin that this young man had produced in his own home, a quantity of which was sufficient, according to the judge, that had it been refined, it could have killed thousands. And he said he was in no doubt that had the plot to attack these young girls and kill as many as possible in Southport failed, he would have resorted to Plan B, the plan to launch this biological weapons attack and kill as many people as possible.